Greetings. This is Justin Allen with the Elite Nurse Practitioner. Welcome to the Elite Nurse Practitioner Show, podcast dedicated to nurse practitioner entrepreneurism and achieving financial freedom, where I talk directly with nurse practitioners who need help. Listen up, our market is saturated. Jobs can be scarce. We are underpaid. We are undervalued. We are taken advantage of by the sharks within the healthcare system, and frankly, screw that. Sick of it, and it's time for a change. And listen, I'm here to help make that happen. We are powerful. We can forge a path where we are in control of our career and ultimately our financial and personal well-being. You do not need to submit to healthcare administrators and your doctor overlords. You do not have to take a measly salary. You do not have to work 50 to 60 hours a week. There is a different way, and I'm here to show you that path. This podcast is raw and unfiltered. I have not talked to the nurse practitioners in this podcast prior to the call outside of an email exchange to schedule the episode. What you're about to listen to is a consultation session between a nurse practitioner and myself. It is real, it is unscripted, it is unplanned, and I have no idea what we're going to talk about. Anything and everything can happen during our conversation. The nurse practitioners in these episodes are struggling with an issue in their professional or financial life, and they have reached out to me for help. My goal is to help the nurse practitioner with actionable advice that will enhance and improve their professional, business, and financial life. My other goal is to hopefully help my nurse practitioner sisters and brothers build a more productive, powerful, and free life. So I hope the content and information within these podcast episodes does just that. All right, onto the episode. Hello, everyone. Today we'll be talking to Mike, who is a family nurse practitioner. Currently, he is employed at a chiropractor's office doing regenerative joint injections and functional medicine. He is preparing his future exit and planning his entrepreneurial journey. He's wanting to start a full-time practice focused on functional medicine, HRT, and weight loss. He is needing assistance with the startup process and making a solid plan for success. Hey, Mike, how are you?
I am doing well. I just want to say thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate you, and I wouldn't rather be talking to anybody else but you right now.
Yeah, man, for sure. It's a Sunday afternoon. Absolutely, man. Hey, this gets me out of the house, with the baby and everything. So agreed.
Excellent.
Yeah. So thanks for hopping on here. So let's go ahead and get started. So bring us up to speed with where you're at as a nurse practitioner, kind of what you've been doing for work and that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah. So I was an RN for about 15 years in an emergency room setting, working for a large healthcare network. So I wanted to get away from that and work more in a smaller practice. So I had the opportunity to get a job working at a chiropractor's office that he branded it as basically a functional medicine facility. So I'm the sole nurse practitioner there. I've been there 2 years. It was just my 2-year anniversary, and I'm under contract for 3 years, but I can leave at 2 years.
Okay.
So I'm planning my exit at this point, and just been doing some research, been following your Facebook page, taking one of your classes so far, the Elite Nurse Practitioner model, going over all that. So I'm just trying to get a plan, to get things rolling. I know a lot of statements that you make with some of the other nurse practitioners, the analysis paralysis, sign the lease. So I'm familiar with all that. So I got a little bit of a drive, a little bit of a fire going right now. So I want to keep that momentum and just make the right steps moving forward.
Gotcha. Very, very wise. Keeping that momentum going. Yeah, very, very wise. One thing about the entrepreneurial journey is that maintaining that momentum, it's so important. Try to focus on keeping that fire burning. Okay. Anyways, yeah, it sounds like a solid plan, man. It's a good idea to make the plan before your exit and have everything kind of set up and ready to go. A lot of people kind of just jump into this stuff and might not think things through. So I applaud you for making a plan right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I want to give you a little more, backstory where I'm at. I'm in Ohio right now. So, it is a collaborative state. So I've been going over the ideas of, do I want to stay here? Do I want to move? I am married. I have no kids. I ran the idea by my wife. She's a little apprehensive about moving to a state where we don't know anybody.
How old are you?
I am 38.
38. Okay.
Yeah. And she's a little older than me. So I'm
okay.
Not young per se. I definitely need to get on this.
Yeah. Okay.
So, if I were to say right now, I'm probably going to be in Ohio. I know that's kind of against the elite model, but I got to I can work with here.
Sure.
So my other idea was, start some telehealth possibly to kind of get the licensing going, to get my LLC, try to build some of that, and then look at brick and mortar and getting a collaborative physician here. What are your thoughts on that?
Let's break this apart real quick. So, 38 years old, this is really about the perfect age to start a business. I mean, you're kind of seasoned in life. You probably have some financial foundations in place. I mean, you're not a college kid struggling, right? And so, I think this is a good time. All right. So just, letting you know that. I think once you start getting into your, mid to late 40s or even in your 50s, it becomes progressively difficult. I'm not saying that you can't do that in your 40s or 50s. You definitely can. I know people who have, but you're at a very good age. Yeah, you're in a restrictive state. That kind of sucks. So I just want to talk about this point real quick about you maybe thinking about moving. So is that pretty much off the plate? Like that's probably not going to happen.
I wouldn't say it's off the plate. I think it's caused the conversation, a little bit of animosity in my marriage, if I'm being honest.
Sure.
And I want to be honest. And, me personally, I had to decide how important is it, this life journey. I put a lot into my education, a lot into my career. I put a lot in my marriage too. So, I want to make it work. I think if it came down to it, I pled my case, I think my wife would support me, but I don't want to put her in a place where she's unhappy either. I don't think that's fair. So right now it's not 100%. It's an option on the table. Ohio's an easier option, because we're already here.
Sure.
But if I could present, a plan and good reasoning and pick a state that, I think that we would vibe with, then it's a possibility.
Okay. Does she work from home, or I mean, she can be fairly location independent?
She's an ER nurse.
Oh, well, she can find she can find a job wherever she wants. Yeah. Okay.
She's an ER nurse, but she's been doing it a long time. So, she's burnt out. So I'm like, I'm wanting to pursue this business. So, you could be a part of this too, and, she's not as business minded, I guess, as you would say that I am. So she doesn't, quite understand, where I'm coming from as much, but I'm trying to introduce her to some of these concepts. And I share stories about my current position, my current role, working more business related in the smaller practice. And I think we could find a position where she could work maybe part-time, as an ER nurse or whatnot, and then, put some time into us to create something if she wanted to. So
I mean, dude, she's an RN. She could do some aesthetics. She could do the IVs. I mean, she could really be an asset, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, listen, a personal story here is that my ex-wife at the time, she was hesitant about picking up and moving. I was in a restricted state on the East Coast, and we basically moved out west. She was very, very hesitant about it. And I was like, listen, honey, I mean, I'm going to be almost $40,000, $50,000 more a year. So it's a no brainer from a financial standpoint because I got a job. And so how I leveraged it was that I applied for work in some states that I was interested in out west. I wanted a state that had nice weather, outdoor activities, but it had to be independent, right? And so I applied to some places or whatever, and they flew me out at an urgent care. I got a job offer. And it was a very lucrative salary, and they were going to pay for my moving expenses and everything. Okay. So to mitigate the risk of picking up and moving, it's best to have a job or something there waiting for you, and maybe where they can pay for your moving expenses, that kind of thing. And you give them, a 1 to 2 year commitment. Because if you're starting a business, it's probably best to start it part-time. I know you were kind of talking about maybe wanting to go full-time with it, but if you were to pick up and move, I would highly recommend having a job waiting for you, because it'll minimize the risk. And, from a financial standpoint, it might be a good thing. They might pay for it. Right. So just kind of keep that in mind, as you maybe talk with that, about, with her and go through that. Because listen, man, there are plenty of jobs in Western states that truly value nurse practitioners. They pay you well. You are completely autonomous. Like when you go from a restricted state to an independent state, a truly fully independent state, dude, it is night and day. It changes the way you think about practice. It really does. So keep that in mind kind of as you do it. And, there's plenty of jobs out west too. You might have to pick a smaller city, a smaller town, but I don't know if you read that article that I released, small towns are gold,
I did read that. Yeah, I did. Yeah. I did read that article.
Yeah.
I mean, it all sounds wonderful, and I do want to look into it. And it sounds like you're more looking at west versus east if you had to choose.
Yeah, well, most eastern states are restricted, man. It just is. It seems like if you look at the map, east of the Mississippi, it's pretty much where all the restricted states are. West of it, it's practically independent.
Unless you go up to New England,
exactly, New Hampshire, Vermont, and stuff. Yeah.
So on the whole other states topic, what's your thoughts on starting some telemed just to get your foot in the door in some other states? And how would you go about selecting those states? Or do you have any?
So you got to do some market research, right? I mean, you really got to get on Google utilize Google Maps, look up, where these little niche practices are and that kind of a thing. Like, I mean, it's amazing. You hop on Google Maps, type in men's health clinic, and just start scrolling. You know what I mean? Just start
Yeah.
moving around to other towns. Just literally just click the image, click the map, and just move around and see where there might not be services, right? So that'd be one way that you could kind of look to see, maybe some states that you might maybe think about moving to at some point in the future or whatever. Or if you want to stick just telemed and live in Ohio, then just do some market research and look around. So, some of the most populous states are usually a good option, right? I mean, if there's more people, the chances are higher that you could probably get more patients, right? Thing is, though, a lot of independent states don't have, huge population centers. So, big states that are independent would be like Arizona is a big state. It's independent. A lot of the Midwest states, there's big population centers as well. So you have to do some market research on it, man. You have to look kind of where are services, what services do you want to offer and what locations don't have as many of those services that I feel like would be a good place to inject my services into. And the thing about marketing online is that you can select towns, counties to market your practice in digitally. I mean, you could be very, very selective, right? And so I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good option, but I want you to be aware that you're going to have to spend money on marketing. That's the biggest expense of the telemedicine practice. Keep that in mind. I think hybrid models are probably the best model, in my opinion, just because a lot of people want to be seen in person. You can do joint injections, you can do procedures. It gives you that office, to tie your DEA to, have supplies shipped to. It gives you an ability to kind of, put your foot in the community, so to speak. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good option, man. And it's it's a lot more of an affordable option than getting a brick and mortar practice. But I don't want you to think that brick and mortar is a lot more expensive because, dude, in reality, it's really not that much more expensive to start a brick and mortar compared to telemedicine. It's really not.
So do you think it's even worth really pursuing the telemed right now, or should I just really focus my efforts on actually finding a brick and mortar, especially if I'm going to be offering multiple services?
Well, you tell me, is there competition in your area?
It depends. I did the whole county map and I looked up, the populations and what services are provided. And, I'm close to Cleveland. It's a big city.
Sure.
So if you go towards the outskirts of the city and you get the other smaller towns and counties around, I don't think there's a lot of competition. I did what you said, I typed in men's health, near me and men's health, and moved around the map and didn't really seem like there is a whole lot. And then what I do, at my practice, we're in a very small town, and if I move up towards the larger, city, larger counties, I think I can capture a lot of that, clientele up there. So I think it could definitely work. I don't have all the exact numbers in front of me.
Sure.
But I think I can make it work for what I'm doing, and with the correct marketing, like you said, if I do that, I've seen from my current situation, the good and the bad and mistakes that are made and how things could be better. And, so I've seen the ins and outs of it. So, I think, that was a learning experience. I think you learn just as much from seeing the way things are done right and seeing the way things are done wrong. I think you can learn even more from that. So,
well,
where I'm at with them.
Yeah, and if your mind is kind of wired for business, you can really see the mistakes, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing that just drove me crazy about working for people in the hospital and stuff. I'm just like, are you administrators absolute morons and idiots? What the hell are you doing? Like, it's just such bad business, But anyways, though, okay. So listen, man, I mean, Ohio in general it's a pretty densely populated place. I mean, there are some rural places, but you're never 15 minutes from the next town, basically. Right. And so, and so I bet there are plenty of opportunities in the state to where you can come in and, start a little niche practice. It sounds like you have some experience with functional medicine as well. So, I mean, that's always in demand, man. People really, really like that. And it can be integrated into any kind of practice, you HRT and weight loss, IV, you want to do some regenerative medicine, some stem cells, whatever. Like you can do all that, right? Together.
Yeah.
It all complements each other. And so, I guess it comes down to what's your budget? I mean, how much money do you got stowed away to where you could really, put down this business and bet on yourself?
I mean, we're pretty frugal with our money. I have some set aside. It really just depends on how how much I want to gamble on this, and I don't plan on failing. If I do this, it's going to be it. It's like in my mind, it's like do or die. This isn't
Oh
just,
yeah.
I don't have somebody, I'm not married to a surgeon or anything where if this fails, that we have this huge income or anything
Hey,
like that. Like it's on me, and if I have
yeah.
to, work 24 hours a day, every day to do this, I'm going to do it. But to answer your question, I mean, 20,000, 30,000.
Dude, it's more
If
than
I if I
enough.
if I need that, I know you said you can get a practice started for 10,000, but if I want to do everything I want to do and get that marketing going right away, I mean, 15, 20,000. I mean, is that reasonable?
Dude, more than enough, man. More than enough.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about these businesses and its business model is that you can start this for $10,000. I mean, I started my first men's health clinic for about 5 grand and my second one for like $7,500. That's
Okay.
it. Like it didn't
Yeah.
cost that much, it
Yeah. Yeah.
really didn't. Yeah. I mean, it just depends on how fancy you want to get, right? Like, do you need electronic exam tables that, where you press a button and the head comes up and like, what I mean? Just how, if you live frugally in your life, you're probably going to be frugal in your business too. Okay. So
Right.
yeah. So you should be able to do this for $10,000 easy. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Now your wife's going to continue to work. So you do have some income coming in. So you're not going to be like super stressed out about paying bills, right? Like you should be comfortable.
No, I mean, we could live off of her income alone if we had
Oh,
to. Quite honestly, yeah. I mean, like I said, we're frugal. Like
even,
we're good. We're good. Yeah.
okay. Even better, man. And, you could go get a part-time job 2 days a week working in urgent care or something too,
Well, the conversation right now is I actually, like I mentioned, I'm at 2 years with my job now. I just had a meeting with the owner, and I said, "Hey, listen, my work life balance isn't very good right now. Between I drive 45 minutes to work and 45 minutes
Oh,
home.
geez.
I'm there 5 days a week. I always said I didn't want a 9 to 5 job. I didn't want to be a banker. And I'm doing what I said I didn't want to do. So I said, hey, I was like, do you need me here every day? Because what if we change the hours a little bit? What if we cut back? What if I'm 3 days a week but still try to carry the same patient load? He says he's up for the conversation. He just needs to see on paper what I'm talking about. So there's a small chance that I could stay doing what I'm doing, but I think it will get into the point where if I'm creating this business, I'm going to be competing against them.
Well,
I
if
do
it's
have to.
not, I mean, if it's not the general area, I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah, I have to be a certain mileage away per my contract. So I would, obviously have to honor that. But if I'm that far away, it becomes a conversation of is it still competing or not? So that's kind of on the table. I was actually going to talk to him tomorrow about, what that looks like as far as hours, So, you know, there's that. I really don't want to have to go out and seek another part-time job and doing something that, I'm not familiar with or learning another skill. I mean, I will if I have to. I know there's jobs out there, doing house calls for insurance, different types where you're not as committed to being there as much, traveling, something like that locally, doing home health assessments, something like that. So that's kind of where my mind is with trying to keep some work while I'm developing this. Any thoughts on that?
No, I think I mean, I think it's a good idea. I think having a part-time job through the business startup phase is critically important just for financial security, man. And listen, the thing about starting a practice like this is that you don't need to be there 5 days a week. You're just not going to be busy enough to justify that at first. Okay.
Sure.
You're just not. Now I'm not going to say that as a blanket statement. You can I mean, you could hit the nail on the head, dude, the first try, and just be at the right place, the right time, and your practice just blows up in a matter of 3 months. You're just like, holy shit, I'm so busy. Like, wow, that can happen, but it's not realistic, and you shouldn't have that expectation, right? So,
Right.
yeah, and so I think having that part-time job will just increase your security so much, and you'll be making that money that you don't even need to live off of, and you can funnel that money into your practice to help grow it. Are you paid as a 1099 or are you a W-2 employee?
I'm a W-2 employee right now.
Okay. So what I would do when you have this conversation with him, ask him, be like, hey, listen, if I'm going to drop part-time or, I'm going to drop my hours or whatever, can I just be paid a 1099 contractor? More than likely, he's probably going to say, yeah, because it's going to decrease his tax burden. He doesn't have to pay employment taxes on you anymore. So he'll probably say yes. And so now what you can do is you can have that 1099 position. You can, instead of them paying you directly, they would pay the LLC, the actual legal entity that you set up for your practice. It can pay it directly. And so now you have income, okay, in quotations, coming into your practice, your business, and you can use that money absolutely tax-free to invest in the business and grow it.
Okay.
That's going to save you so much money. Like that concept right there is so important for anyone starting a business. If you can get a part-time 1099 position and have it pay your practice's LLC or PLLC or whatever, okay, from a tax standpoint, you're instantly saving 30%. That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. If I mention this to them, do you see any pushback for any reason of why they would not want that?
No, I don't see any issue at all unless it's just something that they just can't justify paying you as a 1099. That's all. So unless they have someone in HR or something that says, "Oh no, we can't justify paying him a 1099," then that would be the only rebuttal. Other than that, though, man, it's good for business. I mean, any business owner would much rather pay people 1099 versus W-2. So I don't see an issue.
Okay. While we're on that topic, I did want to ask you more specific on like physically prioritizing some things, like you mentioned the LLC. So I had a few like more detailed questions on that, like actually forming the LLC. I know you mentioned an S corp, but if let's just say I stay in Ohio, I know you mentioned getting a parent LLC like in Wyoming. So I just wanted to kind of get a little bit more information on that, like creating which one would you create first, and then also should the name align with your business name? Should it be a different name? Just some more details on that.
I mean, I think it should align. I think that the name should be
the same name. Let's just say I'm calling it ABC Health. Should it be ABC Health LLC and then my business name ABC Health on the sign, or close?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, dude, if you can, I mean, anyone out there wanting to form an LLC or whatever, like if you can actually have that name be the actual name of your practice, it just keeps things simpler. Like when you have informed consent forms and intake forms and that kind of stuff, the name of the legal entity has to be on those forms. And so it just decreases confusion from patients and whatnot. And it just keeps the bank accounts, the supplier accounts, it keeps it all just basically branded the same, right? And so you can always do DBAs underneath that from a marketing standpoint. But yeah, I mean, if you can just do the LLC as your business name, I say to do that. Just keep it simple.
Okay. Should I saw where you mentioned, you can file the LLC yourself, save some money. Should I file one for Ohio first and then look at getting a secondary, or how does that work? Or is it better to get the parent one in a different state and then get the sticker in after that?
Yeah. So there's a little confusion around, why I recommend having a Wyoming LLC as the parent company. The predominant reason is that it helps you maintain your privacy. Okay. So the great thing about Wyoming LLCs is that the business owner's name is kept confidential. The only people that know that's the state. And the only way anyone could ever get that information is that they subpoena the state. It's not going to happen. Okay. No one's going to do that. All right. So your privacy is maintained with the Wyoming LLC. Okay. So from a privacy standpoint, that's why I like them. And that's why I like having that LLC own the operating LLC in your state where you're actually operating your practice. Because in a lot of states, the owner's name it's public. Okay. Most states, it's like that. Very, very few states, the LLC's, the owner's name is private. And so if the Wyoming LLC owns that LLC in your state, someone looks it up, it shows the Wyoming LLC. And then it's basically just a dead end, right? They have no clue who owns the business. So that's one reason why I like that strategy. And from an asset protection strategy too, it just gives you another layer. You can funnel all the money up to that Wyoming LLC's bank account and it's nice, safe, and sound. So if your operating LLC was ever sued, you keep a minimal amount of money in its bank account. And so you just don't have a whole lot of assets in that operating LLC's, on the books. All the assets are in another company's name. Does that make sense? Yeah. So from an asset protection strategy, it gives you another extra layer of protection. And from a privacy standpoint, it basically makes your practice private. Now, It does complicate things just a little bit. Okay. You're going to have two tax returns, basically. You're going to have two bank accounts. You're going to have two of everything. Right. And so it can complicate things, and it's really an unnecessary stressor during the startup phase. But it's going to cost you an extra, few $100 to do it. So, if you think that your practice is going to grow, okay, if you feel like that you're going to have employees, maybe other nurse practitioners working for you in the future, maybe expanding to like a second location, for example, doing that now will save you headaches in the future. Okay. If that's not your goal, if your goal is just to have this kind of family practice kind of thing, where, your patients know you're the owner, but more of a local kind of, just a local drinking hole basically for your patients, right? Then that doesn't matter, right? Who cares about maintaining your privacy? Like all your patients know you own it anyways, right?
Right.
So, right. So it just depends on what your future goals are. Does that make sense? All right. I hope everyone's enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick break to thank everyone listening and also give a big thank you to all of my social media followers and email subscribers. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our email list at www.elitenp.com and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Email subscribers will receive updates on new weekly podcast episodes, multiple weekly articles we publish, new courses, and everything else related to helping you succeed. Remember, all elite nurse practitioner courses are designed to help you build a niche practice, increase your financial strength, and to break free from the rat race. If I can break free and that other countless nurse practitioners can break free, then so can you. Additionally, please share this podcast with your other nurse practitioner sisters and brothers out there. The more NPs that venture out on their own, the stronger our profession will become. Now, let's get back to the episode.
It does. Yeah. It's kind of hard to visualize. I want it to be. I want it to be the biggest and best thing it can be that I can make it.
Sure.
If it's like a few $100 to do it, like you said, I mean,
nothing.
It might be worth it, and
do it. Just do it. Just do it, man. And the beautiful thing about having that holding company, that parent company, is that you can now use that as a parent company for any other business you start.
Okay.
Yep. So if you start, so if you do some property management, for example, or you want to have some rental houses or whatever, like it could be it could be an LLC owned by that Wyoming company. So that, you know what I mean? So it's always there maintaining your privacy. That's what I do.
Would I want to open one before the other, or how would you link them?
Correct. So form the Wyoming LLC first.
Okay.
And then when you form the Ohio LLC, it's just going to ask who the member and manager are on the application. The member and manager of that Wyoming LLC. It's that simple. It's literally that simple.
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. You don't need a lawyer to do that for you. Yeah. You don't need a lawyer to do that. It's nothing to it.
Well, I like to be hands-on. I like to do as much as I can myself, as long as I'm, semi-educated on it. I don't want to, make blunders, and spend a lot of money, doing things wrong. But I feel like, if I can educate myself and do it myself, then I'd much rather do that. That kind of translates over to, the website design. I've been saving a lot of different websites, medical related healthcare facility websites, to kind of, browse through them, see what I like about them, see what I don't like about them, see what's easy to navigate. I listened to one of your podcasts recently where you kind of broke down somebody's website for me. I was listening to that and kind of comparing it to what I've seen. So I definitely want to get hands-on if I can with the website development. I know you said GoDaddy's good if you develop your own website, not so much having somebody do it for you, but that's kind of my next plan was to just start getting this website.
Yeah.
My free time, start really hammering on that.
I think the hands-on approach is great, especially for your first business. So many people want to outsource everything. And I really feel like it takes away from that learning experience. I really feel like it takes away from, putting the sweat into it, paying your dues, so to speak. That's my opinion. But yeah, I think that, I applaud you for wanting to do all this yourself. I think it's an excellent learning experience for you. And, I did it myself too. And, designing a website is a fantastic thing to do. And listen, this is your business. Like you're the one, how do you want it to look? What do you want the content to be like? Like, this is your baby, and your website's it's the postcard of the world. I mean, how do you want it to look? And yeah, GoDaddy, Squarespace, Wix, dude, they all have website builders. They're pretty easy. I mean, if you're 38 years old, man, you pretty much grew up on the internet like me. So,
Okay.
you should be able to figure it out. It's pretty easy. My first websites were all made by myself. Hell, dude, the Elite N.P was off of GoDaddy at first.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, do it. I mean, if you got the time right now, hell with it.
Is one of those sites better than the other if you had to pick one right now? Would say one over the other?
Yeah, from what I hear from people, it sounds like Wix probably has more options. GoDaddy's website builder has been updated in the last year. It's pretty impressive. So I'm kind of partial to GoDaddy because it's what I use, but I've heard from
Okay.
other people that they like Wix better. So, man, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I guess any questions about those really basic startup processes? I mean, I know that you took our advanced men's health course and plan on taking some other ones. The advanced men's health course doesn't really go over practice startup, but the other ones that you're going to purchase do. And so a lot of those really basic questions, man, will be answered in the course for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I plan on jumping on and grabbing a few more of your courses here. Um, so at first well, it depends on the services. So we're doing, if I want to do the HRT, the weight loss, cash practice, if I move into more of the functional medicine, joint injections, that sort of thing, it's pretty lucrative, with some of the insurance companies that are in reimbursement right now. So, I have to look at taking insurance, that's a whole nother layer to everything. So if I do that, I saw you have a medical billing course. I was looking at something like that, if my wife wanted to get involved, getting that course, having her kind of look over it.
Sure.
I mean, is that something that you think's, reasonable, transitioning from, cash practice to incorporating, if I'm doing that service, offering that with, taking insurance, or just, you think just staying away from it altogether? It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard with, that type of service, because a lot of insurances do cover that, and it's fairly generous.
Up to you, man. I'm not a huge fan of insurance.
Well, I'll tell you what worries me is I just see so many people jumping on this HRT and weight loss train, and I'm looking at it as, a lot of people just trying to get a cash grab, which, it is good at that, so, is it gonna fizzle out? I was just looking at, my area, the demographic and everything, trying to find out, is there men's health clinics near me? How far away? Where are they? And then I'm getting all these ads that are popping up. It's like, join, our HRT for $99 a month. Or, if you find anybody to beat it, we'll give you 20% off and all this stuff. I didn't really look exactly what they're doing for you, but it's just like, it seems like there's a lot of competition right now. So I wanted to be able to kind of, do a lateral move and see, I can offer some other services that I've already, gotten good at. They're more in office treatment and not necessarily online. So that was my thought with it. But, I really want to do the HRT. I have a personal background with that. I had low testosterone, my mid 30s, and, I kind of got the run around with family doctor. I went to an endocrinologist. My levels were really low, but they were at like the very bottom level. And they're like, "Oh, you're fine. Just deal with it. Basically, testosterone can cause a heart attack. You don't want to do that."
Right. All this nonsense.
Yeah. So, it's for me, I want to do it, because I have a history with it, and I really think I can help. I think it's an area that's, neglected in Western medicine, as far as family practice and treating men. And, so
Sure.
to me, it's a personal thing. I really want to do that, but I also want to be able to offer some other services, in office. So that's kind of where my mindset is with why I want to do what I want to do.
Right. So you basically want to be able to accept insurance from a competitive standpoint, and also just to basically increase access to care, essentially.
For certain services, but yeah,
Okay.
the whole model, the cash practice with HRT and the weight loss, that's golden. I wanted to start with that. I want to do that. If I do telehealth, it's going to be that. But if I do in office, I want to be able to sidestep and be able to offer those other services.
Sure. So
just to have more, options, I guess.
okay. So people listening to this right now probably will say, don't go insurance.
Okay.
Yeah. There's been some people that I've talked with and consulted with and whatnot over the past, two, 2 3 years who we're going to do something similar. Where I'm just going to start cash. And then while I'm going through the credentialing process of insurance, then, I'll go ahead and implement that 6 months later or whatever, however long it takes to implement the insurance. And I'll tell you what happens almost most of the time is that they start making money with the cash. They're making
Okay.
10, 15, $20,000 a year. They say, hell with the insurance. I'm not going to fool
Okay.
with it. So yeah, you can do it. I'll tell you, some of the big names out there in terms of HRT practices and weight loss practices, I'm not going to say any specific names, but some of these very, very large corporate practices that you'll see in big cities and stuff, and they're like they're all over the country. Most of them do accept insurance, and so you can make a lot of money with it. Their model works, but you're nickel and diming insurance basically. Like the patients have to come in for an injection, so you can bill for the injection. You're seeing the patient every 2 to 3 weeks, so you can bill a 99213, 99203 code or whatever, level 3 visit. You see the patients a lot, so you can just milk the insurance basically. And so it's going to complicate your business, man, because now you have to bill. You can get audited. They can take they can take their money back. You got to chart a certain way. So, if you accepted insurance in a weight loss practice or a men's health practice, you will get busy very fast because people want to use their insurance. So, keep that in mind, but you're going to have to set up some policies and some systems in the practice to say that, listen, we will bill your insurance for the visits and these kinds of things.
Sure.
But if your testosterone level is, let's say, 350 or whatever, insurance will not pay for the testosterone. Therefore, we will charge you cash for the actual testosterone itself. Same thing with weight loss. Your insurance might not pay for the semaglutide or the Mounjaro or whatever. And so, we do have some cash rates from a compounding pharmacy and that sort of a thing. So it'll be a juggling act between billing insurance for the visits and then determining if the insurance is going to pay for the intervention, right? And so it's going to be one of those juggling acts where you're going to have to charge cash and bill insurance. I mean, it can be very lucrative. It does work. It just complicates the business at all. And so, if you're going to do cash only, it's a simple model, right? So
right, and that's how I originally wanted to start. Like you said with the other folks that you talked to, they wanted to start that way, and then possibly add on insurance later. And like you said, maybe I won't want to do that. It's just in the back of my mind, I guess. Down the road as an option, but definitely starting with cash first.
Yeah. I think that's probably a good idea. So, any other questions in terms of like what you're kind of thinking about in terms of the startup phase?
Yeah, another big one, which is probably one of those, you're like, don't focus on the $100 questions, but the 10,000. But coming up with a name for this is really difficult for me because I've listened to some of your other podcasts, and the name and then how it relates to your website and then how it relates to your marketing and drawing people in for a particular service. I refer back to one of your previous podcasts where you're talking to somebody and they seem to have a little bit too much going on their main page as far as services. So someone that comes there, they're like, well, what the heck, what's all this? So if I'm starting off and I'm doing, essentially HRT, men's health, and weight loss, as far as name, at first I was like, well, should I make it a little bit more ambiguous, practical health clinic, where it's not too specific, or should I double down and say, practical men's health clinic, but do I really want to eliminate, half of my customer base by saying men's health, and the name doesn't sound like women are involved? Or as far as a marketing strategy, should I call it like practical men's health, but then offer something on a certain page, it's like the prestige men's HRT program or something, to kind of play it up a little bit, but then like you talk to them about marketing and on Google, and when you click on something, what is that practice going to do for you? What target audience are you looking for? So I'm trying to figure out how to like unmuddy the water with offering a couple main services, but really going after a target population, and showing them, hey, this is for you.
So your goal here is to treat both men and women, right?
Right.
Like you want to have more of like a general wellness practice, right? Okay. So go to the main website, leadnp.com, and go to all articles at the top, use the search function and type in DBA. Okay. There's
Okay.
an article there where I talk about doing, creating a DBA for your business. And then there's another link inside that for an article that I wrote about marketing DBAs, marketing multiple DBAs, under one practice, under one roof. Okay.
Okay.
So from a marketing standpoint, you can market, let's just say the name of your practice is Prestige. Okay. You can market on Facebook and Google, whatnot, Prestige Men's Health, Prestige Weight Loss Clinic, Prestige Female Hormone Replacement Therapy, etc.
Okay.
And the name of the actual business is Prestige Health and Wellness.
Okay.
But you have multiple DBAs underneath it from a marketing standpoint. That way patients see Prestige Weight Loss Clinic. Oh, cool. They do weight loss. And then when they get there, sure, you do weight loss, but you also do some other stuff, right? And so from a branding standpoint, let's say they're driving and they're like, where the hell is Prestige Weight Loss? They look at the address and on the sign it says Prestige Health and Wellness. Oh, okay, there it is. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
It still makes sense. So all the branding's still consistent, right? Same coloring, same mission, same, font on the website. Like it's all the same brand. It's just from a marketing standpoint, it's just a different name. So like, you have an ad on Google, Google search ad, Prestige Men's Health, come get your TRT here or whatever. Right. And so people will be like, oh, okay, that's a men's health clinic. It is, but we also do some other stuff. So, I mean, it's not deceitful or anything. It's just a marketing aspect, right? So yeah, you can do that. You don't necessarily have to have separate websites for it unless you really, really wanted to get technical. You could, but like each page on your website, at the title of it would say Prestige Men's Health, Prestige Weight Loss, but the main homepage, prestige.com, for example, would say Prestige Health and Wellness, right? And then it would list the services, very, very simple.
So if you went to the main page, it would be Prestige Health, and you click on that, and then you would have a navigation bar, and it would say like TRT or Men's Prestige Men's Health TRT. You click on that, and then the next page it would say like Men's Health.
Exactly, Prestige Men's Health. Prestige Men's, right.
But it's all linked to that one main site. Now, on the main page, do you think it's okay to have how many services before it gets too muddy? Two, 3, or because I know in that other podcast you were like just focus on, I think it was weight loss that you were talking about with that particular nurse practitioner.
Yeah, I mean, you want it to look. It just needs to be easily navigatable, right?
Okay.
So that's just the thing, It has to think about a patient landing on it. You don't want to confuse them. That's really what it comes down to. There's some websites, man, I'll land on. I'm like, what the hell is it that you do? I still don't know. Like, you know what I mean? It's confusing. Dude, people are going to click off that, after 30 seconds, they're going to be like, I don't know what the hell you're doing. Click off and you just go to the next, they go to your competitor right down the list on Google, Okay. So that's what I'm saying. Think of it as, you're a 6th grader because, the average reading level in this country is that of a 6th grader. And so you have to kind of write it like that. I mean, it has to be very, very simple and it has to be straight to the point. Don't complicate it with mission statements and all this kind of crap. No one cares about that. They want to know what you do.
Okay.
Right. So if you keep it simple like that, man, don't worry about it.
So I've been looking at a lot of different websites and a lot of different, looking at the names. It's like you think of something pops in my mind and I Google it and like, oh yeah, that's already taken, or it's like already taken like 10 times in 10 different ways. So it's like, I've narrowed down, like I've probably typed like 1,000 names into Google to try to figure out, what my name to be. And then, I'm looking at different marketing and, it's like I click on a lot of these clinics, throughout the United States, and they just look a little too cookie cutter to me. It's like their waiting rooms are like a LabCorp, and it's just like you click on the thing and there's like just a guy standing there, an older guy standing there in scrubs trying to sell the TRT, and it just seems generic and it looks a little played out to me. And I noticed how a lot of people are going to TikTok now. People with less of an attention span, they don't want to get in these long form videos on YouTube and everything. It seems like TikTok's going to be the way to go for marketing.
Well, wait. One thing about TikTok is that there's a lot of legislation going on right now that it might be banned in this country. So don't bet the farm on it. Okay. Like it is a Chinese data farming, it's spyware essentially. I mean, they are data mining the hell out of information from the American public, and the U.S. government's like, what the hell why are we allowing this to happen? So I'm just FYI, TikTok might not be around.
So lateral move, something on Instagram or whatever, and they
Sure.
would probably at that point they'd probably steal, TikToks the way they do it with
Oh yeah.
short
Oh
form
yeah, for
videos.
sure, man. YouTube's gonna create something that's gonna be similar. You just guarantee it. Yeah.
Right. So, taking healthcare in marketing and, I guess can you be a little different? Will you still get the patient volume? Will you get more if you're just a little different, a little more creative, a little more artsy with everything? Have you seen
Sure,
anybody kind of
man.
go that way, or do you want to stay more traditional? Just what people are used to when they
No.
go into their family practice office, more
No.
boring, more professional, or do
No, man.
you think taking a risk on that and being a little bit more artistic and making some videos and doing some little podcast stuff, and kind of I don't know, a little clickbaity in a way, but getting to the point and getting them to where they need to be, and
There's
getting them with
nothing.
you.
Listen, man. That's the consumer. Okay, that's where it's going. And so these old practices are going to be left in the dirt. I mean, they're just going to be there doing their, standard medical practice, insurance accepting, yeah, it's moving. And so it is fine to do it the other way, have videos and articles and dude, it's fine. Like do that. It'd be foolish not to. Like that's where it's going.
That's what I was feeling, but I just
Yeah.
wanted your blessing on it
Don't worry about it.
because I'm not deep within the business, and I know you ran multiple
No,
businesses, and I didn't know if
don't
that's something getting a little
listen.
creative, if that can help you, or if it can ultimately hurt you
Yeah.
in a
Okay.
professional field.
Well, I mean,
Well,
some
I'm not
people
saying
might.
get ridiculous, but
Well, yeah, but be aware there will be some people who will look down on you in the medical community in your area.
oh, I'm sure.
But you know what? Those old doctors can pound sand, whatever. Guess what? Shit changes, right? And so,
Right on.
yeah, don't worry about it, man. I've had plenty of them talk absolute just mad crap about my business and what we were doing and stuff. And you know what? Oh, well, you know, whatever. I don't care.
Right.
Screw the naysayers, dude. Don't worry about it.
Right. There's no place in your future for that. So
No, there's not. Like, who cares what these people think of you? Like, it doesn't matter, man.
exactly.
Yeah, like you'd be amazed on how much stuff I get through Elite NP. Oh my God. Like there are some people out there that really hate what I'm doing. God forbid
Yeah.
I'm helping nurse practitioners succeed and break free, but a lot of doctors out there do not like what I'm doing, but oh well.
Well, yeah, you have to look at where their hate originates from. I'm sure.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So don't worry about that, man. You do whatever you want. As long as it's within reason, you're not doing anything crazy, you're fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. So, you're asking some really cool questions here, man. I think these are really good questions to, be thinking of. I mean, all the technical stuff's going to be in the course. So, you'll go through that and you'll know exactly what to do to start it. But these are really good questions. So,
Awesome.
yeah. You have any other questions I can help you with?
No, I really appreciate your time. I've kind of been all over the place with you here, and I pretty much knew, the meat and potatoes is going to be in those courses. I just need to set some time aside to go through them. And once I do, I might have a few questions here or there, but I kind of wanted to ask you some more at what I thought were more detailed, obscure questions. Those finite questions that were just kind of in the back of my mind. I don't, so I
mean, a lot of
really
these,
appreciate you.
Yeah, no, for sure, dude. A lot of these were $10,000 questions, not nitpicky $100 questions. So yeah, these were very relevant, good questions. I think you got a good plan here, man. I think that you have a decent head on your shoulder. It sounds like, you're doing the market analysis, you're doing some market research, you got some cash that you can invest into this. You're frugal in your personal life, so you're not gonna be living paycheck to paycheck and scrambling. It sounds like you're in a really, really good place here. So, I think I think you'll do well. I think that, just always be willing to pivot. Okay. Always be willing to take away a service or put a new service in. But the biggest piece of advice I can give you here is that just listen to your patients and just deliver what they want. Okay. If something's not working out, don't shove it in their face, scrap it and move on. All right. So let the world tell you what they want, man. And if you do that, you'll find yourself with a successful practice, and you might find yourself only having a focus of 2 or 3 services, and that's it. Like everything else just kind of falls away. So that's a good place to be in a business. I think the more focused you can be, the better. And so, maybe the weight loss takes off, maybe the joint injections just kind of fizzle out, maybe the men's health really takes off, and that's kind of just the two things you focus on. Who knows, man? You'll never know. That's the fun thing about starting a business.
Awesome. Yeah. And I agree. My plan is I just want to add some value to people's lives. So,
Oh, you will. You will. Don't worry about that. You will. They'll be more than happy to pay you for it, dude. They feel better. Their metabolic health improves. I mean, it is a win-win all around. So
I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely looking forward to this journey.
yeah, no. I'm excited for you, man. Keep me up to date. I do like to end the episodes with you asking me a question. If you ever had kind of just a question for me.
Yeah, sure. So, I know most people would probably ask you, I know you just had a child, they ask you about that, but I'm pretty sure, you would say that that's, probably one of the most admirable things, is having a child. And it's probably one of the things you're most proud of. So I'm not going to ask you that, but I'm going to ask you a more manly question. I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite 1980s action movie?
1980s action movie.
Yeah.
Ah, man. Dude, man, that's a hard one. It's got to be Predator movies are pretty badass. Like the old Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yes.
and like just the crazy, just ridiculous action movie. Just a lot of those movies with those old school actors in like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jean-Claude Van Damme and Stallone. Right. Like they were just so ridiculous. Like nothing's been done since, you know what I mean? So yeah. Predator was pretty cool, man. Like I still watch it from time to time. And the 80s comedy too. Like I really miss some of the old 80s comedy.
The 80s were great. I'm not sure what year you were born in. I was born in 85. So I caught, like as a kid, just like the tail end of the 80s, but it kind of lingered on. We had a VHS player growing up, we'd record shows off of TV on, blank VHS tapes. We'd watch the heck out of those growing up. But yeah, it's like that time period I don't think will ever be repeated, that 80s and into the early 90s. It's just like I just have so many fond memories from that. And like you said, Predator with Arnold, and that's just like, a little kid being a little boy, just seeing the masculinity, of like Arnold and Stallone. Like it was just, I think it was just a good thing for little boys back then, I think, at least.
It was. I agree with you, man. There's I don't want to get political or anything like that, but there's definitely a lack of masculinity, unfortunately, in popular culture. And yeah, back then it was like very masculine movies, and it was kind of ridiculous. A lot of it was, but it was just it was fun, and it was very masculine.
It was over the top,
It was over the top.
We might circle back. We might get back. We might get back there. I know like the WWE, WWF. That's still hanging on pretty strong. There's still a fan base. There's still a following. So we'll see. Everything, history repeats itself. So we'll
Yeah, for sure. That was a good question, man. Well, cool. Any other last thoughts or any other questions before we hop off?
One thing just came to mind real quick.
Sure.
It's a statistical question. From your experience in weight loss, what is usually the percentage of patients that are male versus female? If you have
75% are female typically, man. I mean,
okay.
For the most part, females utilize healthcare and medicine more than men, right?
Okay.
They just do. And cash-based niche services are really no different. I find that the majority of patients tend to be female. So, maybe anywhere between 60 to 80% tend to be female. I own a men's health clinic, so it's predominantly just men, right?
Right.
But but it seems like it's typically female. So kind of keep that in mind,
Yeah, absolutely. Because I just thought back to designing the website and designing the marketing there.
Yeah,
like you said, not excluding females. So that's big. That's why I wanted to circle back and ask that question, which is in the back of my mind. I was figuring that was going to be the case, but then I was like, I don't know. How do I know? So I ask.
Yeah. Very, gender neutral kind of colors are usually a good idea. For my men's health clinic, the colors are, dark gray, black, dark red. Like it kind of has that, sex kind of, red is supposed to have kind of like, subconscious sex vibes to it or whatever, however you want to call that. But my men's health clinic is a very like masculine looking website, right? But like for a wellness practice, like what you want to do, very neutral, man, blues, whites, just very neutral kind of thing.
Awesome. Good advice.
Yeah. So cool. Awesome, man. Well, hey, listen, keep me up to date. And if you ever want to do a follow-up in 3 to 6 months, just let me know.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I definitely love that. So I appreciate the invite, and I will be talking to you in the future. And thanks again for having me and your time. And good luck with your family and your business adventures.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it, brother.
You got it. Thank you.
All right, man. Take care. Bye. All right, I hope everyone enjoyed the episode with Mike. Great startup episode. He hasn't even really started yet, but he's thinking through the right things. He's asking those $10,000 questions, not the $100 questions. He's asking the important stuff, not what EMR to use or what payment processor. Like, those things are really not that important, okay? So be focusing on what really matters in your business, what services you're going to offer, how you're going to market, what your website's going to look like, those kinds of things. I think that, him pivoting from a full-time job into a full-time practice might not be the best idea. So that's why I really recommend to him, try to maintain some part-time employment and then start the business on more of a part-time basis. And also, if he could move to an independent state, I think that would make his life so much easier. But don't let that be a roadblock for you, okay? There are plenty of nurse practitioners out there that start practices in restricted states, and they do very, very well. I know a nurse practitioner who, I'm not joking you, this guy's a millionaire through a primary care practice that grew very, very large, and it was in a restricted state. So you can start $1 million practice in a restricted state as well. Independent states, though, have a lower barrier to entry and lower expenses. So, keep that in mind too. So I think Mike will do very, very well, and I look forward to talking to him again. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye. Thank you for listening to the show. Quick legal disclaimer. The content of this podcast is meant for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be used as legal, financial, medical, regulatory, or practice-specific advice. For information pertaining to your specific legal, financial, medical, or practice-specific needs, please be sure to consult with your lawyer, CPA, medical director, and/or your state's practice laws and the most up-to-date clinical guidelines. As always, do your due diligence when it comes to any information found online and in podcasts. The content in this podcast is copyrighted by Galaxy Medical Southwest 2023 and cannot be duplicated, rebroadcasted, or reproduced without our written permission.